These could colloquially also be called relief valves because through them you release the internal tension that is piled up. We'll first start with possible techniques to apply when you have thoughts or feelings associated to a specific field. The first option or possible valve is to plainly acknowledge and accept what is happening and making an action plan. Often, and especially in more traumatic events, a person decides to ignore the topic that happened with the hopes that if unacknowledged, it never really happened. This is not the correct way to go about it, as such things then tend to spill over in other areas of life, causing additional damage. For example, we all know examples when something happens at work and you don't react to it, and then you bring it home and you do react there, or you react to a stranger on the street or somewhere else. On top of it, the scientists now have even discovered that our body experiences emotions even if we consciously ignore them. So it doesn't make sense to not acknowledge them, except that if this is for our survival. The correct way, however, is to confront the topic by acknowledging and accepting it, and then making an action plan of what to do about it. The same is with emotions, acknowledging and accepting them, and then making a plan of action. Or, that's why the emotions are there. They're there to activate us. They are there to help us to make the needed change. So we should use them, not ignore them. Next option, the next valve that I would recommend is called a mind dump. This is a great exercise to do, especially when you have a mental overwhelm in a form of words or sounds in your head. The experience is as if you or someone else would be talking in your head constantly. In such cases, write everything down on a piece of paper, in a notebook, journal, doesn't matter, just write it down and keep writing it as long as it is needed. As stupid as it is, as bizarre as it is, or as illogical it may be. Just let it out. This will give you an immediate relief. If you combine it with making an action plan, it will relieve you even more. The next possible valve is guided imagery. This exercise is especially useful when you see scenarios playing out in your head. So when you see them, this one, the one before, the mind dump, is when you hear them, and the guided imagery is when you see them. So something that either happened or something that could have happened. Usually the story or the film that we see, it repeats in a circle. And with this, it holds us to the edge or activated or in a specific state. A good example is seeing how could he or she did that to me, and then reliving and then experiencing what someone said or did or could have done. In such cases, you are caught up in a loop, like when you have a song in your head and you cannot stop repeating it. Just that thinking of a song will not block your sleep, yet re-experiencing such events or potential events will. There are several options what you can do, and always pick the one that will end the loop. Resolve the event in your head and release your activation levels. If unsure which one to pick, try several until you find one that works. So the possibilities are: you can bring the story to the end, since usually you are caught up in the worst moment. Another possibility is to prolong the scenario to the future in a manner that is optimal and positive for you. You can even visualize yourself in a few years and looking back to it and thinking how this helped you grow and helped you become a better person. Another possibility is that you rewrite the complete story. This approach is especially useful for made-up scenarios because everything is made up, so you can create whatever you want. Right. The next possible valve, or the next valve that I recommend to you try and use, is called emotional free technique or tapping. It does require some exercise and training at the beginning, but has been proven as a very effective for emotional, mental, and physical distress. It is a skill of its own, so I can only direct you to persons who are really good at it and can teach you. If you are a person that experiences big fluctuations in arousal, I would highly recommend learning this skill. For thoughts or feelings not connected to a specific field, I recommend deep diaphragmatic breathing. This is the stomach breathing that we did before, and progressive muscle relaxation methods. For example, total body relaxation was one of such methods. Then there are various grounding techniques that are especially useful when you are in or approaching an emotional overwhelm. The purpose is that instead of going your regular path of spiraling into a highly effective state where you then remain for a prolonged time, you redirect your mental focus to the topic of your immediate surroundings. It is a mental redirection technique. There are various methods available, and I propose the 5-4-3-2-1 method since it is very simple, straightforward, and you can do it anywhere at any time. The method is, I'll just briefly describe it. You stop anything you're doing and then focus on identifying the following points. 5 things you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. That's it. You do these steps, you take as much time as you need, and by the time you are done, the thoughts and especially emotional states you were in before are calmed, but to the point that you are able to consciously regain your control. Now, here comes the important part. That after this process, you reshape the thoughts in a manner that they better serve you and that you do not spiral back into the same thought and emotional pattern that led to the emotional overwhelm in the first place. If for some reason you cannot reshape them, then rather decide to think about something else or just go and do something in order to focus on another topic. Other possible methods are talk with people you trust, not about whether, but about the problem or the topic. Then there's music therapy, where you influence the brain frequency via the ISO principle to entrain it into the state you want to find yourself in. You basically listen to the genre or the type of music that has emotional frequency you want to find yourself in. Then there is anaerobic physical activity. These are high intensity sports where your pulse is high and you're sweating a lot. The selection of the sport is not that important as the fact that you do it. Then we have a group of activities that significantly elevate your heart rate while you're doing them. Here, just make sure they don't activate you to the point that you are unable to sleep later on. Examples of such activities are adrenaline sports, hitting things or activities where you hit, and the games with a ball. And what is not recommended? Many other short-term release valves exist, yet have other negative mid and long-term consequences on one or several other areas. So I recommend avoiding introducing a coping mechanism that removes one problem and creates another one. Or if you are currently using one of these coping mechanisms, I recommend that you swap it with one of the ones I recommended in the previous lessons.